Hey everyone, it is Monday, so we all know what time it is. It is time to talk about some official tournaments that happened, or big tournaments that happened over the weekend. And there were no tournaments. No big ones, alright? Because it was New Year's. People got things to do. They go outside, or they stay inside, I guess, because of stuff, or they party. I don't really imagine Vanguard players partying that hard, but the fact is there were no tournaments. So instead, let's just talk about testing. Another episode of what have I tested recently. So this time we'll basically be covering Twinkle Melody, because although it's been out in Japan, there's still a lot of things to test about it, because there's so many different flavors of Bermuda to play with. And then also some clan selection stuff. Some of the good stuff, some of the bad stuff, and some of the crazy stuff that just got revealed very recently. So, first off, Twinkle Melody, Bermuda Triangle. This is where everyone presses the skip button, probably skip for like 2 minutes or so, and then you'll be at the part that you want to listen to. But yeah, Twinkle Melody, so far we see that the metagame has moved on to 4-cannon Plon build, being probably the better build out of everything, with some top players playing that. I have tested that, and it's actually very, very high roll, very effective, similar to the Lupina Melody deck I've been talking about before. But yeah, it's just, it gets cannons in Soul, cannons get more cannons, then cannons get more other stuff, and then you kind of steamroll from there. If you go first, you probably have a good chance of winning, unless you totally brick. Against Gurguit, I think it's also quite strong, as long as you go first. If you go second, you're probably a bit too slow. They'll get their second turn and destroy you, but maybe you can tank it out with Finas, with your Finas in Soul and getting huge intercepts, so there's that. Otherwise, other decks in the Bermuda pool so far, something like Anj has really dropped off. There was a build of Greedlander that we saw recently, and I think it's a pretty fun deck. Rue posted this Greedlander list. It's a fun deck. Although you do a lot to accomplish very little. That's the one thing. You probably go to time at a major tournament for it, and it feels like although you do generate quite a big hand, it is a lot of that hand is just largely useless. So what you do basically with the build is you just get Anj, you get coaches to get a lot of to get every single multi-copy from your deck, then you start getting everything you need, and then you can basically finish with Lupinas and things like that. Yeah, that's basically it. But again, like I said, it takes a long time to do. Well, it doesn't take a long time, but you do a lot of things. It's like playing Pale Moon, right? You do a bunch of complicated moves, you get slightly to just do the slightliest of things, and then they demolish you because your hand just attack, and that's it, right? But unlike Pale Moon, you don't have G-Guards that just stop attacks, and yeah. Otherwise, the other thing that has popped up that's been pretty promising is Prism. Prism is your basic best friend. It's not too overpowered. It doesn't feel like it's not too overpowered. At the same time, it's also very strong. And when you play against it, your friend's like, "Oh, cool! I'm playing against Prism. I don't feel bad." If they lose against Prism, they still don't feel bad. The entire engine, the Prism engine, is very lean, and it kind of just replicates itself. When you call out your pieces, the pieces put more things in the bind zone. That comes out and then puts more stuff. So you don't feel like you're running out of steam, and it generates quite a decent power line immediately. Does 5 attacks. So overall, Prism is surprisingly one of the better decks to rise out from Twinkle Melody compared to other things. Otherwise, other decks are still you know, they could be good, they could not be good. We've seen a lot of players play different stuff. We've seen like Mia builds, I don't really think that's good. We've seen someone play Celody, and that seems okay. But we're still waiting on maybe more exploration to that side. So yeah, just if we're thinking of something like the old like Anj Tira builds, I guess that's pretty much kind of fallen out of favor. I've seen Anj being just splashed around with Prism and stuff like that, so I guess that kind of works too. But yeah, the Anj line, I think we've kind of pushed it to the side as being a bit too slow for the current metagame. There is also Highlander. Highlander, nice fun deck, but probably not in standard. I've seen some people pull it off in premium. So premium's like this huge unexplored format, so if you're finding stuff in premium, good job, alright? So now let's move on to some interesting stuff, the clan selections, right? People are going, how good is clan selection? And so far, although clan selection has brought back the nostalgia, largely it's been kind of tame in terms of power level, right? So I think I did test some of the more interesting stuff that I really wanted to test. One was Spectral Duke Dragon, because, you know, come on boys, we're all into that spectral life, right? Spectral Duke Dragon, of course, people are going to complain that I compare this to Gurgit, and of course it's not going to be as good as Gurgit, blah blah blah. But let's think about it this way: is Spectral good enough to compete in a world without Gurgit? And I think Spectral is kind of not. It's like a tier. If we're looking at like Gurgit as a tier 1 deck right now, and then there's a bunch of decks in tier 2, Spectral is probably a tier 3 deck, right? So once Gurgit is gone, sure, it becomes the second tier, unless they don't hit something like Plon or something like that, which is slightly stronger than everything else. But it's just clunky. Overall, it's kind of clunky. Of course, these are just initial builds, so there's a lot more to work with, but so far I found that it's been pretty clunky. I did play it in a list with Pelennor, and surprisingly, the Pelennor part was not the clunky part, right? It was just, the Pelennor was actually pretty good. It was actually a pretty good, nice tech to the deck. The clunky part was just the overall Spectral engine. You want all your grade 1s and grade 2s in your soul and all that, but you don't always get that off. So you have some weird columns where you're like a 12k hitting into a 13k, or, you know, you just don't have a crit or something like that, and it's just off. It just doesn't feel right. So overall, right now it feels a bit just too clunky for my liking. The other thing I did test was Mega Colony. So Mega Colony, everyone's laughing at Mega Colony. Wow, it is a terrible support. It's not even Mega Colony anymore. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's true. So far, but the melee, like, let's be real here. Ghidorah look nice on paper, but in practice, when you're playing against good people, when you're playing against good decks, it wasn't very good, right? It wasn't very good. The deck overall was super clunky. Cradle just didn't do enough. Offensively, you didn't have enough. Helldemize, once you drew a Helldemize, it just really didn't do enough. So you just have a bunch of conflicting ideas working. You want to get cards, right? But you want to control at the same time. You want to multi-attack. All of that, you try and do all that stuff, and it doesn't really work together. So now they have replacements for the Helldemize. They have a card that puts card back, a grade 1 that puts card back. That is actually really, really insane. Okay, it actually buffs Ghidorah quite a bit, and we're in a metagame now. The metagame has moved on where you're not facing against DIs. You're not facing against Night Roses. Your Cradle is actually somewhat useful, right? And your offensive power is kind of buffed with these new cards. So you can kind of change your deck lineup. You're more happy to draw lots more. You can tank pretty hard. You can even experiment. You can run Water Games, you can run Mill. So I think there's a lot of stuff available for Mega Colony. It's kind of it used to be a junk tier deck in my opinion. I really don't think I would ever even take it to a locals right now. But with clan selection, this is definitely at least a fun casual deck that you can play around with. And if you really want to, I think you can even take it to a big tournament. Of course, we're not looking at this is the new tier 2 deck or whatever. It's like it probably could be around the same tier as Spectral, and I think that's what clan selection really is aiming for. They're trying to get a lot of decks to be around at that tier 3 level, where it's like an entry level kind of thing. It's balanced, it's fun. You just buy clan selection, you can play it with friends. They want it at that level, and I think rather than like, you know, the top tier deck, which is golds, moving down to a tier 3 deck, when you're like a Mega Colony player, you're like, wow, I got something that is like half decent. I feel happy. I can now at least play casually. I mean, that sounds pretty sad, but that's kind of how I feel it's where it's at. So that's Mega Colony. And funny thing is, I did say they all want these cards to be at the same level, but so we've had inklings, right? We've had inklings of certain cards being better than others. So we've seen the Shiryuki that got released last weekend. We haven't actually tested that. I can't wait to test it. All right, I can't wait to test it. The Shiryuki support looks pretty good right now. I'm just thinking to myself, where do I want this? How do I want to fit this into a deck? Am I running Hyuga? Am I running Yasui? Am I running Dueling Dragons? Or I'm just running pure Shiryuki? I really don't think that pure Shiryuki will work. So it's just down to how do I want to build this deck, and yeah, that's where it's at. We also saw one card from Link Joker, and it looks like Chaos will be doing something towards opponent's side of the field, like lock opponent's side of the field. So I'm pretty sure everyone is crapping their pants now, and Doom saying how the world's gonna end. Yeah, continue doing that, boys. We will find out more information tomorrow. We'll also see Ashley tomorrow. Apart from that, other reveals for clan section so far has just been very, very tame. You know, Shadow Paladin reveal. Yeah, that's cool. It's probably around tier 3 as well. And yeah, that's kind of Malkuth Malek. Same thing, same deal. And yeah, and basically everything else. Basically, I'm pretty sure I missed out on like Geek Chronicle, but you know, we all know the Geek Chronicle support from clan section is not the new cards. It is Ribble. It is the PRs that we're missing. It's the PRs that we deserve, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Find out more about clan selection. Maybe they're releasing all the super powerful stuff later on. But so far, that's where everything's at. Everything is kind of fun and balanced if you're not playing in like, if you ban certain decks, you know, just do it like League. Both players ban X decks from casuals. Because I mean, you're not playing any tournaments, right? So let's be real here. You're not playing any real tournaments right now. So just pick and ban some cards, some decks, and just go with that, right? So that's it from me. Hope you guys have fun in playing Vanguard and quarantine and all that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.